Marcus Blackwood stood at the tall windows of his mansion, watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. His pale fingers traced the cold glass as memories of his beloved wife Isabella flooded his mind. It had been exactly 1 year since the hunters took her life, leaving him alone to raise their 3 children, Alexander, Sophia, and little Emma. The mansion felt empty without Isabella's laughter echoing through the halls. Her portrait still hung in the main living room, her warm brown eyes seeming to follow Marcus wherever he went. The children missed their mother terribly, and Marcus could see the sadness in their young faces every day. Alexander, now 16, had grown quiet and distant. He spent most of his time reading ancient books in the library, trying to understand their vampire heritage. Sophia, 14, painted sad pictures of their family when they were complete. 8-year-old Emma still asked when Mommy would come home, breaking Marcus's already shattered heart. As the ruler of the vampire kingdom hidden deep in the Carpathian Mountains, Marcus had responsibilities that went far beyond his personal grief. Other vampire families looked to him for guidance and protection. The Council of Elders constantly pressured him to remarry, saying the kingdom needed a queen. But Marcus couldn't imagine loving anyone else the way he had loved Isabella. The servants in the mansion walked on silent feet, afraid to disturb their master's mourning. Among them was Maria Santos, a young woman who had worked for the Blackwood family for 3 years. She had watched the family's happiness crumble after Isabella's death and felt deep sympathy for Marcus and the children. Maria was different from the other servants. She had keen eyes that noticed everything and a gentle heart that cared deeply for others. The children had grown attached to her, especially little Emma, who often ran to Maria when nightmares about her mother woke her up. One evening, as autumn leaves began to fall, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He called his children to the study, where shelves full of leather-bound books reached the ceiling. The room smelled of old paper and candle wax. "My dear children," Marcus began, his voice heavy with emotion, "I know this past year has been incredibly difficult for all of us. We have grieved together, and we have tried to heal together. But I need to know something very important." Sophia put down her paintbrush and Emma climbed onto her father's lap. They all waited for him to continue. "I need to know if you truly love me, not because I am your father and you have to, but because you choose to. Your mother's death has made me question everything, including whether the people closest to me love me for who I am or simply because of duty." The children exchanged confused glances. They had never heard their father speak like this before. "What do you mean, Papa?" Sophia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus took a deep breath. "I am going to test your love. I will disappear for a while, and you will be told that I have died. How you react, how you remember me, and how you honor my memory will show me the truth about your hearts." Alexander stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the wooden floor. "Father, that's not fair. We love you. Why do you need to test us?" Little Emma began to cry. "Papa, don't leave us. We already lost Mama." Marcus felt his heart breaking as he held his youngest daughter close. "This is something I must do. I will be watching from afar, but you must not know it. Trust that everything happens for a reason, and remember that true love survives even the greatest tests." Sophia wiped tears from her eyes. "How long will you be gone?" "Will you be gone? 6 months," Marcus replied. "If your love for me is real, it will show in how you live your lives during that time. If you truly love me, you will honor my memory and take care of each other." The next morning, Marcus began putting his plan into action. He called his most trusted advisor, Vladimir Petrov, and explained what he wanted to do. Vladimir thought his master had lost his mind with grief. "My lord, this is madness," Vladimir said, shaking his gray head. "The children have already lost their mother. To make them think they have lost you too is cruel beyond measure." "Love must be tested, Vladimir," Marcus replied firmly. "I need to know that when I am truly gone someday, my children will remember me with genuine love, not just obligation." Marcus arranged for a fake funeral to be held. He would hide in the secret passages built throughout the mansion. passages that only he knew about. From there, he could observe his children and see how they truly felt about him. The day of the fake death arrived. Marcus took a special potion that made him appear lifeless for several hours. Vladimir reluctantly played his part, announcing to the household that their master had died peacefully in his sleep. The children's screams of anguish echoed through the mansion. Alexander punched the walls until his knuckles bled. Sophia collapsed on the floor, sobbing until no more tears would come. Emma cried so hard that Maria had to hold her for hours until she finally fell asleep from exhaustion. From his hiding place in the walls, Marcus watched it all. Part of him wanted to run out and comfort his children, to tell them it was all a terrible joke. But he forced himself to stay hidden, convinced that this test was necessary. The funeral was held 3 days later in the family cemetery behind the mansion. The entire vampire community attended, paying their respects to their fallen king. The children stood beside their father's empty coffin, dressed in black and looking smaller than Marcus had ever seen them. As dirt was thrown onto the coffin, Marcus watched from a hidden window. He saw Alexander trying to be strong for his sisters, putting his arms around them both. He saw Sophia laying a painting she had made of their family on the grave. He saw little Emma throwing her favorite flower, a white rose, into the hole. "I love you, Papa," Emma whispered to the grave. "I'll be good, I promise." Those words cut through Marcus like a knife. For the first time since starting this test, he began to wonder if Vladimir had been right. Maybe this was too cruel. After the funeral, life in the mansion changed completely. The Council of Elders appointed Vladimir as temporary ruler until Alexander came of age. The servants continued their duties, but the house felt more like a tomb than a home. Maria Santos noticed everything. She saw how the children clung to each other at night, afraid to sleep alone. She saw how they barely ate, picking at their food like lost birds. She saw how they visited their father's grave every single day, talking to him as if he could hear them. But Maria also noticed something else. Strange sounds in the walls at night, footsteps where no one should be walking, doors that she was sure she had closed standing slightly open in the morning, food disappearing from the kitchen when all the family members were accounted for. Maria had always been observant, but now her instincts told her something was very wrong. She began to pay closer attention, staying awake later at night and watching for anything unusual. 1 week after the funeral, as Maria was cleaning the study, she heard a sound from behind one of the bookcases. It was soft, like someone trying not to be heard, but definitely there. She pressed her ear against the wall and heard what sounded like breathing. Her heart began to race. Was the mansion haunted? Were the spirits of the dead Blackwood family members walking the halls? Or was something else happening here? That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room in the servants' quarters, thinking about everything she had noticed. The sounds, the missing food, the strange feeling she got sometimes that someone was watching her as she went about her work. She thought about the children and how much they were suffering. Alexander had stopped eating almost entirely. Sophia spent all her time painting pictures of her father as if trying to bring him back through art. Emma cried herself to sleep every night, calling for both her mama and papa. Maria made a decision. Whatever was happening in this mansion, she was going to find out. If there was something supernatural going on, the children deserved to know. If there was some other explanation, they deserved that too. The next day, Maria began her investigation in earnest. She paid attention to every detail, every sound, every shadow that seemed out of place. She made mental notes of which rooms felt different and when the strange sounds seemed to occur. During her cleaning, she examined the walls more carefully than ever before. The mansion was old, built centuries ago, and she knew that old houses sometimes had secret passages and hidden rooms. Maybe that could explain some of what she was experiencing. In the study, Maria ran her hands along the bookshelf where she had heard the breathing sound. The wood felt different in one section, slightly warmer than the rest. When she pressed against it, it gave way just a little, as if there was empty space behind it. Her pulse quickened. She looked around to make sure no one was watching, then pressed harder. Suddenly, a section of the bookshelf swung inward, revealing a narrow passage behind the wall. Maria gasped and stepped back. A secret passage, just as she had suspected. But who was using it and why? She grabbed a candle and lit it, then carefully stepped into the passage. It was dusty, but not as much as she would have expected if no one had been there recently. She could see footprints in the dust, fresh ones. The passage led in several directions. Maria chose the path that seemed to go toward the main part of the house, where the family's bedrooms were located. As she walked quietly, her candle casting dancing shadows on the walls, she tried to prepare herself for whatever she might find. The passage had small openings at regular intervals, clearly designed to allow someone to observe the rooms below without being seen. Maria realized that someone could watch everything that happened in the house from these hidden walkways. As she moved deeper into the secret passage system, Maria heard a sound that made her freeze. Someone was coming. She quickly blew out her candle and pressed herself against the wall, trying to become invisible in the darkness. Footsteps approached, slow and careful. In the dim light filtering through the observation holes, Maria saw a figure moving through the passage. Her heart nearly stopped when she recognized who it was. Marcus Blackwood, very much alive and moving through his own secret passages like a ghost haunting his own home. Maria covered her mouth to keep from gasping out loud. The man everyone thought was dead, the man whose children were crying themselves to sleep every night, was alive and watching them from the walls of his own house. She followed him carefully, staying far enough behind that he wouldn't notice her. Marcus stopped at one of the observation points and looked down into what Maria realized was Emma's bedroom. The little girl was lying in bed, clutching a photograph of her father and crying softly. "I miss you so much, Papa," Emma whispered to the picture. "I promise I'll be the best daughter ever if you come back. I promise I'll never be naughty again." Maria saw Marcus press his hand against the wall, and even in the darkness, she could see that he was crying too. Whatever his reasons for this deception, it was clearly causing him as much pain as it was causing his children. Marcus moved on to observe Sophia's room, where the 14-year-old was painting another portrait of her father by candlelight. Her easel was surrounded by dozens of paintings, all of Marcus, all created since his supposed death. "I won't forget what you look like, Papa," Sophia whispered as she painted. "Everyone says the pain will get easier, but I don't want it to. I want to remember how much I love you forever." The 16-year-old wasn't sleeping either. Instead, he was writing in a journal documenting memories of his father. "I promise to take care of Sophia and Emma the way you would have," Alexander wrote. "I promise to be the man you taught me to be. I promise to make you proud even though you can't see me anymore." Maria watched Marcus break down completely at his son's words. He slid down the wall and sat on the floor of the passage, his whole body shaking with silent sobs. At that moment, Maria knew she had to act. This had gone far enough. She couldn't stand by and watch this family destroy themselves with unnecessary grief. She stepped forward, her footstep echoing in the passage. Marcus looked up, startled, and their eyes met in the dim light. "Mr. Blackwood," Maria said quietly, "I think we need to talk." The Widowed Vampire Monarch Story, second part. Marcus Blackwood's pale face went even whiter when he saw Maria standing in the secret passage. For a moment, neither of them moved or spoke. The silence stretched between them like a taut rope ready to snap. "Maria," Marcus finally whispered, his voice hoarse from emotion, "how did you find me?" Maria held her candle steady, its flame casting dancing shadows on both their faces. "I've been watching and listening, Mr. Petticoat." Blackwood. "I knew something wasn't right. The sounds in the walls, the missing food, the feeling that someone was always watching. But I never imagined it would be you." Marcus stood up slowly, his legs stiff from sitting on the cold stone floor. He looked older than Maria remembered, as if the past week of watching his children grieve had aged him years. "You don't understand," Marcus began, but Maria held up her hand to stop him. "No, sir. I think I understand perfectly. You're testing your children's love by making them think you're dead. I've watched them cry themselves to sleep every night. I've seen Alexander stop eating because he's trying to be the man of the house at 16. I've held Emma while she had nightmares about losing both her parents. What I don't understand is why. Marcus's shoulders sagged. I needed to know if they truly loved me or if they just obeyed me because I was their father and their king. After Isabella died, I began to doubt everything. What if my children only showed me affection because they had to? Maria's eyes flashed with anger. Mr. Blackwood, with all due respect, that's the most foolish thing I've ever heard. Those children adore you. They always have. Even before their mother died, they would light up when you walked into a room. Alexander wanted to be just like you. Sophia painted pictures of you because you were her hero. Emma followed you around like a lost puppy because being near you made her happy. But how can I be sure? Marcus asked desperately. How can I know that their love is real and not just duty? Maria stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. Because real love doesn't need to be tested, Mr. Blackwood. Real love just is. It shows itself in 1,000 little ways every day. The way Alexander tries to sit up straighter when you're around because he wants to make you proud. The way Sophia saves the best parts of her meals to share with you. The way Emma runs to you when she's scared because she knows you'll keep her safe. Marcus leaned against the wall, the weight of what he had done crashing down on him. I've made a terrible mistake, haven't I? Yes, sir, you have, but it's not too late to fix it. Marcus shook his head. It is too late. I can't just come back from the dead. People attended my funeral. The whole vampire community believes I'm gone. How would I explain that? Maria thought for a moment. We'll figure that out. But first you need to see what your test is really showing you. She led Marcus to another observation point, this one looking down into the main living room. Alexander was there with Sophia and Emma, and they were going through boxes of their father's belongings that Vladimir had brought down from the master bedroom. We should make a memory book, Sophia was saying, so we never forget all the good times we had with Papa. Alexander nodded, holding up one of Marcus's old journals. He wrote about us in here. Listen to this. Alexander helped me in the garden today. He has such careful hands and asks such thoughtful questions. He will make a wise leader someday, much wiser than I am. Emma clapped her small hands together. Papa wrote that about you, Alexander. He was proud of you, Sophia. Alexander continued reading. Sophia showed me her newest painting today. She has captured something in Isabella's eyes that I had forgotten was there, a kind of mischievous joy. Our daughter has a gift for seeing the beauty and love in everything around her. He really saw me. He really understood what I was trying to do with my art. And here's one about Emma. Alexander's voice grew soft. Little Emma asked me today why the moon follows us when we drive at night. Her curiosity about the world reminds me that there is magic everywhere if we just take the time to notice it. She helps me see wonder in ordinary things. I still want to know why the moon follows us. Marcus watched his children through the hidden opening, and Maria saw the realization dawning on his face. They weren't just grieving because he was gone. They were celebrating who he had been, remembering the love he had shown them, sharing stories that proved how much he had meant to them. They're not just sad because they lost their father, Maria said quietly. They're heartbroken because they lost their friend, their protector, their biggest supporter. That's not duty, Mr. Blackwood. That's pure love. As they continued to watch, Vladimir entered the room with more boxes. The old advisor looked tired and worried. Children, Vladimir said gently, I know this is difficult, but we need to discuss your future. The council is pressuring me to make decisions about your education and your living arrangements. Alexander looked up sharply. What kind of decisions? Some council members believe you would benefit from being sent to other vampire families for your remaining education. They think staying in this house with so many memories might be too painful for you. No! Emma cried out, running to Alexander and grabbing his arm. No! We can't leave. This is where Papa and Mama lived. This is our home. Sophia stood up, her paint-stained hands clenched into fists. We won't go. You can't make us leave everything we have left of our parents." Uncle Vladimir put his arms around both his sisters. "Uncle Vladimir, I appreciate the council's concern, but we belong here. This house, these memories, they're all we have left of our family. Taking us away from them would be like killing Papa all over again." Vladimir sighed heavily. "I understand your feelings, children, but I'm only one voice against many. Some of the council members are quite insistent." "Then they don't understand what love means," Sophia said firmly. "Real love doesn't just disappear when someone dies. It stays with you. It lives in the places you shared, in the things they touched, in the memories you made together. If we leave here, we leave pieces of Papa behind." Marcus gripped the wall so hard that his knuckles turned white. "They want to take my children away from their home," he whispered to Maria. "Now do you see?" Maria asked. "Your test isn't showing you whether your children love you. It's showing you that other people are making decisions about their lives without understanding what they need. They need their father, Mr. Chadbour, Blackwood. They need you to come back and protect them." In the room below, Emma had started crying again. "I want Papa," she sobbed. "I want Papa to tell them we can stay home. Papa would never let anyone take us away." Alexander tried to comfort her, but Maria could see that he was struggling too. The 16-year-old was trying to be strong for his sisters, but he was just a child himself, facing decisions that no child should have to make alone. "Papa always said that home isn't just a place," Sophia said, wiping Emma's tears. "He said home is where your family is, but we're his family, and now we don't have anywhere to be his family anymore." Those words broke something inside Marcus. He turned to Maria, his eyes filled with desperate determination. "You're right. I have to go back to them. But how? How do I explain that I'm not really dead?" Maria had been thinking about this problem. The vampire community believes in many supernatural things, don't they? Resurrection, powerful magic, ancient curses. Marcus nodded. "Yes, but then we create a believable story. You were under a powerful spell, maybe something connected to your grief over Isabella. The spell made you appear dead, but true love broke it. Your children's love called you back from whatever realm you were trapped in." "That could work," Marcus said slowly. "There are precedents in vampire lore. But what about you? You know the truth. Can I trust you to keep this secret?" Maria looked him directly in the eyes. "Mr. Blackwood, I've watched your children suffer for the past week. If telling a story that brings their father back to them means they can smile again, then that story becomes my truth too." Marcus felt a wave of gratitude toward this young woman who cared so much about his family. "Why are you helping me? You could have exposed me, demanded explanations, even quit your job in disgust." "Because those children deserve to have their father," Maria said simply, "and because you deserve to see how much they really love you." "Your test worked, sir, but not in the way you expected. It didn't prove whether your children love you. It proved that your love for them is strong enough to make you change your mind about something you thought was necessary." Marcus knew she was right. Watching his children grieve had shown him that his love for them was more important than his need for proof of their love. A father's job was to protect and comfort his children, not to test them. "How do we do this?" Marcus asked. "First, you need to clean yourself up. You look like you've been living in a cave. Then we need to stage your return carefully. It should happen when the children are together, and it should be dramatic enough to seem magical, but not so dramatic that it frightens them." They spent the next few hours planning every detail. Marcus would return to his regular bedroom through the secret passages. Maria would discover him there in the morning and raise an alarm. The story would be that he had been found in a death-like trance, but that he was now awakening. As dawn approached, Marcus made his way through the passages to his own room for the first time in a week. It felt strange to be in his own bed again, knowing that in a few hours everything would change. Meanwhile, Maria went to her own room to prepare for the performance of her lifetime. She would need to seem shocked and amazed when she found Marcus alive. The children's reaction would need to feel natural and unplanned. Just before sunrise, Maria went to Marcus's room as planned. She took a deep breath, then began screaming, "Help, come quickly! Something impossible has happened." Her screams woke the entire household. Vladimir came running, still in his nightclothes. The children rushed from their rooms, Alexander carrying Emma because she was too sleepy to run on her own. "What is it, Maria?" Vladimir demanded. Maria pointed toward Marcus's bed with a shaking hand. He's breathing. Mr. Blackwood is breathing." Everyone crowded into the bedroom doorway. There, in the bed where they had found his dead body a week ago, Marcus lay with his chest rising and falling slowly. His eyes were closed, but he was clearly alive. Emma was the first to react. She broke away from Alexander and ran to the bed. "Papa, Papa, wake up." Marcus's eyes fluttered open, and he looked around the room with apparent confusion. "Emma? Why are you crying, little one?" "Papa!" Emma threw herself onto the bed and into her father's arms. "You were dead. We had a funeral and everything. But you're alive." Sophia and Alexander approached more cautiously, afraid that they might be dreaming. "Father?" Alexander's voice cracked with emotion. "Is it really you?" Marcus sat up slowly, still holding Emma. "Of course it's me, but I feel like I've been asleep for a very long time. What happened?" Vladimir stepped forward, his face a mixture of joy and confusion. "My lord, you died. Your heart stopped beating. You were cold to the touch. We buried you 3 days ago." Marcus looked genuinely puzzled, just as he and Maria had planned. "Buried me, but I'm here. I remember having strange dreams. I felt like I was trapped somewhere dark and cold, and I could hear voices calling to me, but I couldn't reach them." "Our voices," Sophia exclaimed, joining Emma on the bed. "We talked to you every day at your grave. We told you we loved you and missed you." "Perhaps that's what brought me back," Marcus said, pulling Sophia close. "Perhaps your love was strong enough to break whatever spell or curse had taken hold of me." Alexander finally approached the bed, tears streaming down his face. "Father, we thought we had lost you forever. We thought we were alone." Marcus reached out and pulled his eldest son into the embrace with his daughters. "You are never alone as long as you have each other. And you will never be alone as long as I have breath in my body." Vladimir was shaking his head in amazement. "In all my centuries, I have never seen anything like this. A true resurrection called forth by love itself." Over the next few hours, news of Marcus's miraculous return spread throughout the vampire community. Some called it a miracle, others whispered about powerful magic. Everyone agreed that it was unprecedented. The Council of Elders, who had been discussing splitting up the children just hours before, now proclaimed it a sign that the Blackwood family was blessed and should never be separated. As the excitement died down and the visitors left, Marcus found himself alone with his children for the first time since his return. They were all crowded onto his bed, unwilling to let him out of their sight. "Papa," Emma said sleepily, "promise you won't die again." Marcus kissed the top of her head. "I promise I will never leave you by choice, little one." "We really missed you," Sophia said. "I painted so many pictures of you because I was afraid I might forget what you looked like. I wrote down all my favorite memories of you," Alexander added. I wanted to make sure Sophia and Emma would always know what kind of man their father was. Marcus felt tears in his eyes, but this time they were tears of joy and gratitude. "What kind of man did you tell them I was?" "I told them you were the kind of father who taught me that being strong means protecting the people you love. I told them you were the kind of man who never broke a promise and who always made time to listen to us, no matter how busy you were. I told them about how you used to dance with Mama in the kitchen when you thought we weren't watching," Sophia added with a small smile, "and how you always saved us the last piece of cake even when you really wanted it yourself. I told them you gave the best hugs in the whole world," Emma said, snuggling deeper into her father's arms. Marcus looked at each of his children, seeing them clearly for the first time since Isabella's death. They didn't love him because they had to. They didn't obey him out of duty. They loved him because he had shown them love every day of their lives. He had been a good father, and their love for him was real and deep and unshakable. "I love you all more than words can express," Marcus said, "and I promise that I will never doubt that love again."
As his children finally drifted off to sleep around him, Marcus caught sight of Maria standing in the doorway.
She smiled at him and nodded before quietly walking away. Marcus knew that he owed this young woman more than he could ever repay. She had saved his family not just from his cruel test, but from the consequences of his grief and doubt. She had shown him that love doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be recognized and cherished. But even as Marcus held his sleeping children and felt gratitude filling his heart, he knew that Maria's discovery of his secret created a new problem. She now knew things about the Blackwood family that no human was supposed to know. She knew they were vampires. She knew about the secret passages. She knew the truth about his fake death. What would this mean for Maria? And what would it mean for his family's carefully guarded secrets? The Widowed Vampire Monarch Story, 3rd part. 3 days after Marcus's miraculous return, life in the Blackwood mansion began to settle into a new rhythm. The children rarely left their father's side, as if they were afraid he might disappear again if they looked away. Marcus didn't mind their constant presence. In fact, he treasured every moment with them, seeing their love and devotion with new eyes. However, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about Maria Santos and the secret she now carried. She had seen him in his vampire form, knew about the hidden passages, and understood the truth about his fake death. Most importantly, she had shown wisdom, courage, and loyalty that went far beyond what anyone could expect from a servant. On the 4th morning after his return, Marcus found Maria in the kitchen preparing breakfast for the family. The other servants had given her a wide berth since she was the one who had discovered their master's resurrection. Some whispered that she must have special powers or divine favor. "Maria," Marcus said quietly, "we need to talk." She looked up from the eggs she was scrambling, her dark eyes calm but alert. "Yes, Mr. Blackwood. I've been expecting this conversation. Walk with me in the garden," Marcus requested. Away from curious ears, they walked in silence through the morning mist that clung to the rose bushes Isabella had planted years ago. Marcus struggled with how to begin this delicate conversation. "You saved my family," he finally said, "but in doing so you learned secrets that could put both you and us in danger. I understand. You're vampires. Not just you, but the children too. The whole community that attended your funeral. They're all vampires, aren't they?" Marcus stopped walking and stared at her. "You knew? Even before you found me in the passages?" "I suspected for a while," Maria admitted. "Little things that didn't add up. The way you all avoided mirrors in certain rooms. How Emma never got sick even when other children in the nearby town had fevers. The way food sometimes went missing from the kitchen, but only certain types, rare meats, blood puddings, things that could satisfy different nutritional needs." "And you weren't afraid?" Marcus asked, genuinely curious. Maria smiled softly. "Mr. Blackwood, I've worked for your family for 3 years. I've watched you read bedtime stories to Emma, help Alexander with his studies, and encourage Sophia's artistic talents. I've seen you grieve for your wife and worry about your children's happiness. If you're a monster, you're the kindest monster I've ever met. But, Maria, you must understand the position this puts you in. The vampire community has strict rules about humans who learn our secrets. Usually, such humans are either turned into vampires themselves or killed," Maria finished calmly. "Yes, I assumed that might be the case." "I won't let anyone hurt you," Marcus said firmly. "You saved my children from unnecessary suffering. You showed me the truth about love and family. I owe you a debt I can never repay." "You don't owe me anything, Mr. Kiev. Blackwood. I did what anyone with a heart would have done." Marcus shook his head. "No, Maria, what you did required exceptional courage and wisdom. You could have exposed me immediately, demanded explanations, or fled in terror when you realized what we are. Instead, you helped reunite a family." They had reached Isabella's favorite spot in the garden where white roses climbed over a marble bench. Marcus sat down and gestured for Maria to join him. "I want to offer you a choice," Marcus said. I can arrange for you to leave here with enough money to start a new life anywhere you want. I'll provide you with perfect references and ensure your safety. You could return to your homeland or travel to any country you desire." Maria listened quietly, her hands folded in her lap. "Or," Marcus continued, "you can stay here as part of our family, not as a servant, but as someone we trust completely. I would arrange for you to be turned into a vampire, if that's what you want. You would live as long as we do and be under our protection forever." "And the third option?" Maria asked. Marcus looked puzzled. "Third option? You mentioned I could leave or become a vampire, but there's a third possibility, isn't there? I could stay as I am, human, but trusted with your secrets." Marcus frowned. "Maria, that would be very dangerous for you. The Council of Elders would have to accept your decision if you made it as their king," Maria said calmly. "You are their ruler, aren't you? That gives you some authority over who can be trusted with vampire secrets." Marcus realized that Maria understood the political situation better than he had expected. "Yes, I do have that authority, but using it to protect a human who knows our secrets would be unprecedented. It would cause controversy in the council. But would it be worth it?" Maria asked, "to keep someone here who truly understands and cares about your family?" Before Marcus could answer, they heard footsteps approaching. Alexander appeared around a bend in the garden path, looking worried. "Father, I've been looking for you. Uncle Vladimir is here with several council members. They want to speak with you urgently." Marcus exchanged a glance with Maria. "Do you know what they want?" Alexander nodded grimly. "It's about Maria. Someone told them that she was the one who discovered you alive. They're asking questions about how she knew to look for you and why she was in your room so early in the morning." Marcus stood up immediately. "Stay here, Maria. I'll handle this." "No," Maria said, rising as well. "If they have questions about me, I should be there to answer them. Running away or hiding will only make them more suspicious." Marcus wanted to argue, but he recognized the same courage and determination that had led her to confront him in the secret passage. "Very well, but let me do most of the talking. DALTM." They walked back to the mansion together, with Alexander following nervously behind them. In the main hall, they found Vladimir waiting with 4 other council members, Elena Volkov, an elegant woman who had known Marcus's family for centuries, a stern man who believed in strict adherence to vampire traditions, Catherine Ross, a younger council member who often questioned old ways, and Thomas Wright, an elder who rarely spoke but whose opinions carried great weight. "Marcus," Vladimir said formally, "the council requires clarification about the circumstances of your return." "Of course," Marcus replied, taking a seat in his favorite chair. "What would you like to know?" "We want to understand how Miss Santos knew to check your room. According to the other servants, she woke the household by screaming about something impossible. How did she know to look for you?" Maria stepped forward before Marcus could speak. "I couldn't sleep and I thought I heard sounds coming from Mistress Blackwood's room. When I went to investigate, I found him breathing." Dimitri's eyes narrowed. "What kind of sounds?" "The room had been sealed since his death." I'm not sure," Maria said, appearing to struggle with the memory. "It was very faint, maybe footsteps or someone moving around. And you weren't afraid to enter the room where your master had died?" Catherine asked, her tone curious rather than accusatory. Maria looked directly at her. "I was terrified. But if there was any chance, however small, that Mr. Blackwood was in trouble and needed help, I had to check." Thomas Wright spoke for the first time, his voice creaky with age. "Young woman, do you believe in magic?" "I believe in things that can't always be explained by ordinary reasoning. I've seen enough unexplained things in my life to know that the world holds mysteries." "What kind of unexplained things?" Dimitri pressed. Marcus could see that this was becoming dangerous territory. Maria was being questioned about supernatural experiences, and her answers could reveal too much about what she knew. "Members of the council," Marcus interrupted, "I appreciate your diligence in understanding the circumstances of my return. However, I think we're asking the wrong questions."
Elena raised an eyebrow.
"What questions should we be asking?" We should be asking why it matters how I was found, Marcus said firmly. The important thing is that I'm alive and back with my family. Whether it was Maria's intuition, divine intervention, or simple coincidence that led to my discovery, the result is the same. Dmitri leaned back in his chair. Marcus, surely you understand our concern. Your return from apparent death is unprecedented. We need to understand what forces were involved. The only force involved was love, Marcus said simply. My children's love called me back from whatever realm I was trapped in. Miss Santos was simply the instrument through which that love was able to reach me. Catherine nodded thoughtfully. That explanation makes sense within our understanding of vampire magic. Love has always been considered one of the most powerful forces in our lore. But, Dmitri continued, we still have the question of Miss Santos herself. She has now been present for extraordinary supernatural events. She has seen things that humans are not supposed to witness. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Dmitri was implying. The traditional response to a human learning vampire secrets was either transformation or elimination. Miss Santos has proven herself trustworthy beyond question, Marcus said carefully. She has served my family faithfully for 3 years, and her discretion during this crisis has been absolute. Trustworthiness is not the issue, Elena said gently. The issue is security. Our community's safety depends on maintaining secrecy from the human world. Maria cleared her throat. May I speak? The council members exchanged glances. Then Vladimir nodded. I understand your concerns, Maria began. You're worried that I might reveal your secrets to other humans, putting your community at risk. But I want you to consider something. I've known about your true nature for months, and I've said nothing to anyone. Dmitri sat up straighter. You knew we were vampires? I suspected Mr. Blackwood's family were different somehow. The evidence was there for anyone who paid attention. But I never spoke of it because it wasn't my place and because I saw no threat in it. The Blackwood family treated me with more kindness and respect than any human employer ever has. Thomas Wright leaned forward with interest. What evidence did you observe? Maria took a deep breath. Small things. Dietary preferences that seemed unusual. Strength that seemed beyond what should be normal. Children who never got sick. A household that seemed more active at night than during the day. But again, I saw nothing threatening in any of this. And now, Elena asked, having witnessed a resurrection and learned the truth about what we are, what do you intend to do with that knowledge? The same thing I've always done, Maria replied. Continue serving this family to the best of my ability and keep their secrets as carefully as I keep my own. Marcus could see that some council members were impressed with Maria's calm honesty, but others remained skeptical. Miss Santos, Catherine said, you must understand that what you're asking is unprecedented. Humans who learn our secrets usually become part of our community permanently in one way or another. I understand, Maria nodded. But I'm asking you to consider a new precedent. I'm asking you to trust that some humans can be loyal allies without being transformed or eliminated. Dmitri shook his head. Too risky. What happens when you grow old and die? What happens if you fall in love with a human man and want to share your life with him? Will you be able to keep our secrets then? Those are fair questions, Maria admitted. I can't predict every situation that might arise in the future, but I can promise you this. I would die before betraying this family or your community. The weight of her words settled over the room. Marcus could see that she meant every word, and he could tell that the council members recognized her sincerity as well. Vladimir spoke up. There is another consideration. Miss Santos's actions saved our king and prevented 3 vampire children from being separated and sent away. Her loyalty has already proven invaluable to our community. Thomas Wright nodded slowly. The young woman has shown exceptional courage, wisdom, and discretion. Perhaps it's time for our community to recognize that not all humans are threats to be eliminated.
Elena looked thoughtful.
If we were to allow Miss Santos to remain as she is, what safeguards would be in place? Marcus stepped forward. I propose that Maria become officially part of the Blackwood household, not as a servant but as a trusted family member. She would be under my personal protection and subject to my authority. If she ever betrayed our secrets, the responsibility would be mine, and I would accept the consequences. Dmitri raised an objection. Marcus, you're asking us to trust not just her, but your judgment of her. What if you're wrong? Then I'll face the punishment for that mistake, Marcus said firmly. But I'm not wrong. Maria Santos has already proven herself worthy of our trust. Catherine turned to Maria. What would you say to those who argue that allowing a human to live among us with full knowledge of our secrets sets a dangerous precedent? I would say that trust has to start somewhere. If your community never trusts any human, you'll never know if there are humans who can be trusted. I'm asking for the chance to prove that trust can exist between humans and vampires without compromising anyone's safety. The council members spent several minutes discussing among themselves in whispered conversations. Finally, Vladimir called for their attention. We need to vote, he announced, all in favor of allowing Miss Santos to remain in the Blackwood household as a trusted family member with full knowledge of our community secrets. Thomas Wright raised her hand immediately. Thomas Wright raised his hand after a moment's hesitation. Elena looked conflicted, but eventually raised her hand as well. Dmitri kept his hand down. I abstain. I hope you're all right, but I fear this decision will be regretted. The motion passes. Miss Santos, you are hereby granted the unprecedented status of trusted human ally to the vampire community. You will be under Marcus's protection and authority. Do you accept these terms? Maria looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. I accept, she said. Then it's settled, Vladimir announced. But understand, Miss Santos, that this trust comes with great responsibility. You are now privy to secrets that could endanger hundreds of vampire lives. The community's safety is now partially in your hands. I understand, Maria replied solemnly. I won't betray that trust. As the council members prepared to leave, Elena approached Maria privately. I voted for you, Elena said quietly, but I want you to understand something. Vampire communities have survived for centuries by being very careful about who they trust. If you ever give us reason to regret this decision, the consequences will be severe. That I understand, Maria said, but I hope you'll come to see that this decision will strengthen your community, not weaken it. Elena studied her for a moment, then nodded. I hope so too. After the council members left, Marcus found himself alone with Maria in the garden again. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. You realize what you've committed to, Marcus said. You're now tied to our family and our community for life. There's no going back to your old human life. Mr. Blackwood, I haven't had an old human life for 3 years. This has been my life, caring for your family and keeping your household running. The only thing that's changed is that now I can do it honestly, without pretending I don't notice things I clearly see. But you've given up the possibility of a normal human future, marriage, children of your own, growing old in the human world. Maria was quiet for a moment, watching the roses sway in the evening breeze. Maybe I have. But I've gained something too. I've gained a family that trusts me completely, a purpose that means something to me, and the knowledge that I helped bring a father back to his children. Marcus felt a deep respect for this young woman who had chosen loyalty over safety, purpose over convention. Maria, I want you to know that you'll never just be a servant in this house again. You're family now, truly family. I'd like that, Maria said softly. I've never really had a family before. As they walked back to the house together, Marcus reflected on how much had changed in just a few weeks. He had started with a foolish plan to test his children's love, and had ended up discovering something much more valuable, that love doesn't need testing, it needs recognition and cherishing. He had also learned that family isn't just about blood or species. Sometimes the most loyal family members are the ones who choose to love you, not the ones who are obligated to. Inside the mansion, they found Alexander, Sophia, and Emma in the main living room, working on a new project together. They had created a large scrapbook filled with photos, drawings, and written memories of their family. "Papa," Emma called out when she saw him, "come see what we made." Marcus sat down with his children and Maria, looking through the pages they had created. Every page showed love, not the kind of love that needed to be tested or proven, but the kind of love that simply existed, steady and strong and unshakable. "This is beautiful," Marcus said, meaning it completely counted with some of the writing. Sophia said, smiling at the young woman who was now officially part of their family. "She remembered things about you that we had forgotten. Like how you always check our rooms at night to make sure we're sleeping safely," Alexander added. "Maria said she noticed you doing that even when you thought no one was watching. Maria said that's how you know someone really loves you. They take care of you even when they think no one will notice." Marcus looked at Maria, who was helping Sophia organize their art supplies. She had been watching over his family, noticing his love for them, understanding their bond even when he had doubted it himself. "Maria's right," Marcus said, pulling Emma closer. "Real love shows itself in the quiet moments, in the everyday care, in the way we protect and support each other without being asked." As the evening wore on and his children eventually went to bed, Marcus realized that his test had taught him something completely different from what he had intended to learn. He hadn't discovered whether his children loved him. He had discovered that he had never really doubted their love at all. What he had doubted was his own worthiness of that love. But watching them grieve for him, seeing how they honored his memory, listening to how they spoke about him to each other, all of that had shown him that he had been a good father, worthy of their love. And Maria, this remarkable young woman who had risked everything to reunite his family, had shown him that love comes in many forms. Sometimes it comes from children to their parent, sometimes from a parent to their children, and sometimes from someone who chooses to love a family so deeply that they're willing to sacrifice their own safety to protect it. Marcus stood at his bedroom window looking out at the garden where Isabella's roses still bloomed. For the first time since his wife's death, he felt at peace. His family was whole again, stronger for what they had endured together. His children knew they were loved, and he knew their love for him was real and unshakable. And now they had Maria, who had proven that family is about choice as much as it is about blood, about loyalty as much as it is about biology. The test was over and everyone had passed, not because they had proven their love, but because they had chosen to live their love every single day. In the morning, Marcus would begin teaching Maria about vampire society and culture, helping her understand the world she had chosen to join. Alexander would continue his studies with new confidence in his father's support. Sophia would paint pictures of their family that included Maria as one of them. Emma would have both her father and a new big sister to love and trust. The Blackwood family had survived loss, doubt, and testing. They had emerged stronger, more loving, and more complete than they had ever been before. And in the secret passages of the mansion, dust began to settle on pathways that would never again be used for watching and testing, but might someday be perfect for games of hide and seek with children who knew they were loved beyond measure.